All right, Ian, our buddy, friend of the podcast, Ben Heck, back in our eyes here. Ben Heck did another public service by fixing another prototype console. This was the Sega Pluto prototype. So the Sega Pluto was to be a variant of the Sega Saturn. So slight difference because the Saturn did come out. This had the big difference between the Saturn and this. Obviously, it looks slightly different.
It looks different, and it has a built-in hard drive and a NetPlay modem.
Sure. So that's the big features there.
Because
there was a Saturn modem you can buy, correct? Was there a Saturn one?
Yeah, there's Netlink games for Saturn.
Yeah, so there was one. This was going to build it in, but there was a hard drive.
Actually, I think it was already on the. Now I'm confused. Might have been a broadband modem. No, it would have been too early for broadband. Yeah, it was just a.
Yeah, Dreamcast had the generic.
Yeah.
Had the generic 50, telephone line one. So Ben Heck got this. This was found by a collector, I believe, at a flea market or swap meet over 10 years ago. He tried to put it for auction in 2013. I saw the articles a few months before the podcast started. Mm-hmm. And so what was wrong with this? Thankfully, there wasn't a huge amount to fix on this. He resoldered some wires and things like that to make sure they're more secure. He put a little spring in to make sure that the disc top opened and closed properly. And that's really the large of it about what Ben had to fix on this. Thankfully, everything else was fine. The games read fine. And he postulated that this was so early a prototype because it wasn't ABS plastic. Ben discovered because he went inside it and took a little bit of it was painted. And so it was a generic gray plastic. It was such a prototype of a prototype that it wasn't even molded in that color. That's interesting. So he says
I wonder if the gray was the gray that they used for the Japanese Saturns and they painted it to do a mock-up for what it would look like for a US audience.
Maybe for like a trade show.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Exactly.
So that was interesting to me. He said this is definitely not ABS. He actually put it he took a piece and he put it in his mouth, I guess the texture.
Oh.
I don't know to taste it, but to get the texture, he's like, oh no, this isn't ABS. I just thought it was funny. I don't know if it was gonna be like a Nintendo Switch game thing where you lick it, but no, he said this is not ABS, this is something else. So they didn't even have the mold productions ready to go. Like this was like a one-off that they somehow molded.
Right.
Also our buddy Adam Korlick was with the owner there.
Adam.
And Adam said that this is only the second one known to exist. The other one is in Japan somewhere, and that there were 6 created, and the other 4 they think were destroyed. So these are 2 of a kind, not 1 of a kind here.
Gotcha.
So it's interesting. I really hope. To me, the biggest part about it, obviously, it's a system. This is a variant of a system, so it is as important as Nintendo PlayStation. But what could be on that hard drive? Who knows? It could be interesting. I don't know. So I think they should probably. I think what they said that they tried to mount the drive and it wouldn't be recognized on a Linux system, and then so hopefully they clone it digitally. The drive. It's a 560 meg hard drive. So hopefully they clone it digitally and people try to crack it or get in there and see what's in there. Maybe there's a prototype. Maybe there's I don't know. Maybe something interesting. I don't know. That's the only thing I think that's the most interesting part about this is that they wanted to include a hard drive potentially when they came out with this.
Yeah.
I don't see what. Do you have any ideas why you want to do that for the Saturn?
I mean, maybe just an early form of updates or something like that. If it was paired
through
with
the internet,
if it was paired
or
with
download
the internet,
games,
right?
Like the satellite.
I think it would. I think it might have been. Yeah, I'm not sure that they would have done that necessarily, but they could have also. Yeah, updates. Little things like that.
Sure. So that's all I'm going to say really right now for this. Ben did a good job with this. They played a couple of games on here. They also tested the one of the memory pack carts there. He said it was definitely an early prototype. Also, when you look at the buttons are so small and kind of just like generic buttons there. It's just very prototypey, I think he said, or very early for one of these systems here. So the only thing I want to say about this is that when this came for auction, it didn't sell. I think there was a reserve on it. There's an old article I linked here, Ian. There's a couple of Polygon articles back from 2013. It said that the internet turned against the owner trying to sell the prototype at the time. At the time, he said, I bought it at a flea market in Stockton, California for $1. The guy I bought it from thought it was a VCR, and I haggled him down till $1 from $5, he told Polygon over email. So later he admitted that when he got it, he didn't know what it was. He just probably thought it was a Saturn or some video game system. That haggling can backfire. If it's something you even think is rare at all, don't haggle. Here's the $5. Thank you so much.
Yeah, just take it.
Thank you and take it. I just thought that was funny.
Haggling from $5 to $1. Just fucking pay the $5.
Well, I just think that was funny. I'm not trying to get on, but I did think that's funny that you would try to attempt that. If you know it's a prototype, here's 10. Just take the change. Just take it. He said, I thought it was just a huge Sega Saturn. This kind of happened to that's how I got my JVC XI from the swap meet. A good old Wario was at the same table looking, and he just thought it was a Genesis. Like, he just saw a bunch of games, and the guy wanted like $80 for the XI in like 20 games, so he passed over. Oh, it's not worth it. I was like, nope, I know that's an XI. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
He either didn't know it was a Genesis or didn't know it existed. Like, he just glossed over it. Good old Wario there. That's how I got my XI down there. So yeah, and that was in 2013 that he tried to sell it. It ended at $15,500 back in 2013 with the reserve price still unfulfilled. I'm guessing with all the PlayStation prototype, Nintendo PlayStation hubbub with the Heritage auctions, maybe you saw an opportunity. The owner said, hey, maybe I can get this in the spotlight. It's not a one of a kind though. And again, this is an existing system. It's just a variant of one. It's still interesting.
It is.
To me, it's still super interesting. But to me, it's not as interesting as something like the Sega Neptune, which was the standalone like 32X system that Sega never put out.
Also, I think that playing it like this is going to bite this guy in the ass. You put it up for auction to try to get an idea of what it was worth.
7 years ago.
Yeah, with the high price. And I don't know. I feel like doing that. I feel like you should. 7 years ago, okay, maybe it's changed, but I don't feel like there would be still a huge market for it. I feel like you take what you get. Maybe he really didn't want to get rid of it, but still.
Well, he put it for auction with a reserve, so I mean.
But you said he put it at a ridiculously high reserve.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
So then I guess it was to get feelers.
Yeah, to get feelers, but the better way to do that is just do best offer.
He did say he did want it in the video with Ben. He did say he thought about maybe touring it around and showing it off. I mean, you can. I just think
you can, and I think, and it would be cool to see. I would like to see it, but don't do it with the expect that it's going to get you a ton more money.
Yeah, sure, because now we have diminishing returns. I mean, Nintendo PlayStation prototype console, it was like probably the grail of the unreleased consoles, I guess.
Sure.
Is there another one you can probably think of that's like maybe the Atari Cosmos, which there's the one working one. I think the Video Game History Museum has.
I thought it was just a wooden mock-up.
I think they have two of them. They have the box for one. Anyway, I thought there was one that was working. Anyway, but that's Atari though, so it's like it would be cool. But they do have the Neptune in Frisco. They do have that Neptune prototype. I remember seeing it at the CES 2012 or 11, whatever that was, when Rue didn't know what a 2600 was. Sorry, Rue. Anyway, we love Rue. But yeah, that's all I'm going to say about this is that it's interesting that this is coming out in the public eye again after so long. If this went to auction, Ian, being that the Nintendo PlayStation underperformed and hit 300 or 360 with I think this would hit. And the fact that there's two of these, I don't think you'd hit $100,000 on this in my eyes.
No, I don't think so either.
I think it would go for maybe half, but no. Plus, the Saturn doesn't have the cachet of the Nintendo PlayStation. And again, this is a system that exists. You're playing a Saturn.
Sure.
Still cool. I'm not saying it's not cool. You know, if I found a Nintendo NES prototype, that'd be cool to me. I guess Nintendo still owns the AVS, the original AVS. They got that on display somewhere, I believe. They have to. The one they before they switched it up, when they were still thinking about parting with Atari. So, all right, any last thoughts on that one?
No.